One is the loneliest number. I don't know the rest of the world. Whoa. Hey. Hi. How you doing? Yeah, I'm not really sure where the hell I am. 1 minute I'm doing a video on Stranger Things, and then the next thing you know, be sure to subscribe if this didn't. So yeah, just been floating around listlessly through this void, as one would. I mean, that's been my day-to-day life for a while, but it's mostly been in a metaphorical way, not so literal. What's weird is I haven't really felt hungry or thirsty or other things the entire time I've been here, as if none of that matters here. Very bizarre state to live in, and I'm pretty sure it's been a minute too. Feels like 4, maybe 5 days. I see. Well, in that case, if I've missed a couple Halloweens anyway, that means we can just sew some shorts together. I'm willing to bet money nobody running this channel has done that. Yeah, oh, come on! Anyway, get ready for spooky season once again with a clip show, like The Simpsons or something. Enjoy. I'll be here, just letting some sink in. Send my regards. Back in the late 2000s, my obsession with filmmaking and movies was really starting to ramp up. I was slowly venturing outside of my comfort zone of the major blockbusters and visiting the classics that paved the way before them. Action movies, older sci-fi, retro comedies, and even super niche independent work from early newgrounders and YouTubers. That last part's what I'm touching on today with James Rolfe, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd and Cinemassacre. While his game reviews and filmmaking journey clicked with me almost right away, his fascination with horror films was something completely fresh for me. Now, I wasn't in a rush to watch anything that would f with my developing brain or gross me out, but with his Monster Madness series, I was nonetheless able to develop an understanding of the genre's history, influence, and eventually, appeal. If you're a wee baba like I was, and still am in some ways, nope, no thanks, nah, I'm good. Thank you. I recommend his yearly October marathons of horror reviews. Who knows, it just might convince you to dive headlong into a fun and important sector of cinema.
It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness!
Cocaine Bear is a movie that knows exactly what it is, yet also kinda tries to be more than that. Confusing, contradictory perhaps, maybe. But that was the experience I had when me and some friends of mine saw it in theaters last month. Beyond the Stranger Things light aesthetics of its music, costuming, and overall scope, this ensemble comedy flops casually back and forth between the polish you'd expect from a AAA actress turned director and the more niche sensibilities of Grindhouse and other midnight guilty pleasures. The result will either entertain you for riding such a weird fence or leave you cold and craving a more committed submersion into the schlock. I fell into the former category, but I won't deny that there were aspects of it that were kinda half-baked that end up at odds with the cooler setups and character beats.
Have you ever done cocaine?
Why do you ask?
Just wondering if it has long-term side effects. For the bear, of course. If it just did a little bit.
Well, it could create a habit for the bear.
Watch it high, watch it drunk. Hell, watch it on cocaine if you so choose, I won't tell. Even if you're 8. I might be going to jail now. Last week, I went to an outdoor screening of The Exorcist at a friend's place. It was a great way to rewatch a classic in honor of the late great Friedkin. Pour a can of pea soup out for a real one. But I want to talk about that theme song, which was actually the title track for prog rock musician Mike Oldfield's album Tubular Bells. Once that thing started playing, I was once again reminded of something I notice constantly, yet immediately forget to chronicle. But no more, says I'm documenting it right here, right now. Fellow weebs, listen to this iconic little sting of 70s horror and tell me you don't hear it. I'm willing to bet that Death Note's composers were greatly inspired by this track for their theme for L. It's got such a mono a mono energy, which is completely flush with the good and evil confrontation of Damien and the devil. Big ego versus big brain, emo versus savant, Danzig versus Wilson. Anyway, this all really just plays to my core mission of pointing out how one thing reminds me of other thing. More to come, or not, I don't know. For Halloween, there's no shortage of spooky, or at the very least, somewhat demonic jams to rattle your skull to. to. Well, it certainly helps that every other pop act gets charged with satanic messages in their music.
You're all boring Karens, by the way.
Plenty of heavy metal, punk, and indie bands have genre touches that will melt seamlessly into your next monster mash. My hard rec for this Halloween day comes from none other than one of Hollywood's true Renaissance men and future father of my children, Ryan the Gaz Gosling, Dead Man's Bones. A project started in 2009 with fellow musician Zach Shields, this slept-on group has only released one album thus far, recorded with the children's choir founded by Flea. Yeah, that Flea. Sound-wise, it's a unique fusion of retro rock and roll, modern psychedelia, and a gothic folkiness brought out by some eerie vocal performances. It's a great album that transcends its novelty and is so effective that it's influenced a handful of other underground groups, while select tracks have even been featured in movies like The Conjuring. Stir this into your witch's brew this year. So, a Pop Pocket I was pretty proud of, absolutely tanked, probably because I ended up dropping it at a weird time of day on Tuesday, you know, Halloween. Man, Halloween's so dope. I kind of wish I could keep putting stuff out that's tailored to its vibe, so I think I will. I mean, why not? The holiday trinity of Q4 isn't really a trinity, if we're gonna be real. Thanksgiving. Ooh, turkeys, football, genocide. I mean, let's face it, it's just an excuse to eat a ton at grandma's till you do it all over again in December, in way cooler fashion, I might add. F it. Until I say otherwise, you're gonna get more spooky or pumpkin-adjacent content, including a re-release of that Ween pocket this Sunday. There's no way in hell it'll bomb again as long as I release it at the proper time. Plus, I'll have an excuse to keep watching classic schlock and listen to more horror punk. Halloween, Sloppy Seconds Edition. What I've seen so far of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a topsy-turvy roller coaster through all sorts of genres. Phantom Blood is a gentlemanly melodrama of vamps and maidens, Battle Tendency is like Raiders if it fucked Street Fighter, Stardust Crusaders kind of feels like a Tolkien-ish epic starring John Travolta and fellow Fonzie friends, and it just gets weirder and weirder from there. Focusing on part 1 though, while I was looking for some footage for a previous pocket, I noticed some on-the-nose references in its staging and aesthetics. The pop art color and movement synonymous with the series often makes me overlook its reverence to classic horror films, specifically those made by Hammer. This shot right here made the whole thing click in my head, where Jonathan's had enough of Dio's shenanigans and yeets him over a balcony, which I think is lifted right out of Frankenstein starring Peter Cushing. Picture this, an alternate universe where a young Christopher Lee played Dio, Cushing could have been Zeppeli, Elvis could have been JoJo. That would be funny. And then you could have Tiny Tim as Speedwagon. Actually, nope, never mind. That's just scary. I've left a gaping hole in my punk preference profile by omitting the Misfits, more specifically Glenn Danzig, who later carved out even more credibility with his self-named heavy metal project. There's a theatricality to his work that speaks to my love for pulp and melodrama. Ironically though, what I and many others consider his most beautiful and striking song is from Samhain, a middle act of sorts between the horror punk of his first band and the bluesy hard rock of his 90s output. Partly inspired by groups like The Damned and Bauhaus, Glenn and company stripped out the corn syrup of The Fiend for a more earnest stab at howling sacrilege, leveling out to a sound that's since been nicknamed death rock. Their debut album Initium is solid overall, but the crown jewel of the disc is Archangel. This track is gorgeous, a triumphant yet eerie portrait of Satan as he fell from grace. Go listen to it and just try not to use it in a Supernatural fan edit. If they are really bringing that back, this better go in it.
Ooh, baby, when you cry, your face is momentary.
Nick Cage as Dracula. What a punchline to an enticing trailer that humanizes and millennializes the plight of horror's #1 ball washer. If only the movie it advertised matched that level of fun from start to finish. Sure, it hooks you with its homages to the Lanooski movie. There's heaping spoonfuls of atmosphere and above-average action direction that falls somewhere between MCU and Robert Rodriguez, but once you hit that latter half, most of the freshness starts to evaporate. Now, I could forgive the over-reliance on, yup, that's me, you're probably voiceovers, the forced meet-cute relationship between Renfield and Awkwafina, and Ben Schwartz saying f every 10 seconds, but all of that remains persistent even after the darkness goes away, the fights become Twilight tier throwing matches, and the bite is taken out of Dracula's sense of menace. Still, Cage is Cage, gives you what you want when he's there. Nicholas Hoult is consistently likable, and the fusion of violence and comedy works often enough that if you stream it in October, it'll get the job done. Fun time, even if it's frustrating if you leave your brain in.
Renfield.
30 years ago, Tim Burton released a black and white dramatization of a personal hero, the High King of low-budget cinema, Ed Wood. Featuring Johnny Depp in the title role, the film envisions a quirky and stylized recap of Wood's unyielding quest for Hollywood greatness and explores his relationship with lovers, financiers, and collaborators, most notably Bela Lugosi, as portrayed by Martin Landau. One of my favorite examples of bone-deep transformative acting.
Now that was a premiere.
While some creative liberties were taken to make this film, there's an irresistible sweetness and endearment coming off of the final product. And besides the lovingly recreated sets from Wood's movies, the film is also spot on with its imagery, music, and sound design, making it approachable as a year-round vintage escape or an autumnal holiday watch. It's as much an homage to an era of campy genre filmmaking as it is a parable for outsiders on the fringe of success and social acceptance. This year, I'd like to finally get to some of Ed Wood's movies, especially Glen or Glenda. Pretty ahead of the curve, that one.
Pull the string!
Towards the end of the 70s, the back-to-basics MO of punk rock began to run its course, and musicians under that umbrella began to expand and experiment with their sound like Psychedelia and prog before them. Enter post-punk, a vibier, more meditative offshoot that took a lot of punk's minimalism to the next level, with endless rhythmic downstrokes and hauntingly reverbed vocal tracks. And yet within this subgenre was another offshoot with a creepy slant to it, gothic rock, and there's no better place to start than with the group largely credited with pioneering the formula, Bauhaus, and their debut single, Bela Lugosi's Dead.
Bela Lugosi's dead.
Textural and eerie to the point of near monotony, this song is a perfect manifesto for this strain of music, with its dissonant noises and dub-influenced delay effects, all of which induce a nightmarish atmosphere and elevates the B-movie subject matter to some kind of abstract poetry. Yeah, not much more to add. Bauhaus is sick. Nice font, by the way.
I'm looking forward to seeing my fans again in my next picture. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In a landscape of remakes, reboots, homages, and shoehorned re-remakes that found a way to make the oh-so-original observation of kids these days and their phones.
Try anything, you cancel, bro.
It's hard to fathom that 50 years ago, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a low-budget movie by a largely unknown art house director named Tobe Hooper. What made it a classic isn't the scream queens or the slashing, though there's certainly a helping of that, but the raw, visceral reality that Hooper and his team managed to create. Taking the social depravity explored in earlier films like Psycho, stripping away a lot of the polish and genre embellishments for an almost documentary-like experience. Though I generally like horror movies, it's challenging for me to watch the more brutal and disturbing ones. I'm just not built for that like others are. But even if I can see that this kind of movie is not for everybody, I gotta insist on the essential qualities of this one. The last half hour is some of the most effective horror and suspense I've ever seen. If you've got the stomach for it and somehow haven't gotten to it, rev it up and watch it go. Me and my best friend were about 12 when, during one of our late-night Dr. Pepper-fueled benders, we came across a movie that was playing on G4. Remember that? It was weirder than anything we had ever seen. Over-the-top acting, corny music and production, and of course this scene where some jock hoodlums hit this kid on a bike and ran over his head. We couldn't believe it. Sadly, the commercial started, and it would be years before either of us saw the full film. Today, though, I'm acutely aware of Toxic Avenger's cult status and the mad genius of its creator, Lloyd Kaufman, of Troma Entertainment.
Now let's make some art!
This studio is rich with tastefully tasteless gems ranging from action and horror schlock to a modern adaptation of Romeo and Juliet on cocaine. And crack. There we go. There's lots to explore there, but if you're new to it, definitely start with Toxie, a character so lovable it became a multimedia franchise with sequels, a recent remake with Peter Dinklage, and even a cartoon. Not since Rambo has anything this inappropriate been produced.
The Toxic Avenger is coming to your town. Look out!
We're about a month and some change from the actual date, but this year will be the 50th anniversary of Young Frankenstein.
Frankenstein!
Yeah, straight Ryan Johnson, that joke. Like many, my first exposure to Brooks and his spoofy sense of humor was Spaceballs, which blew my mind as a kid to the point that I'd force my friends to watch it with me every birthday for about 5 years. Later, though, at my best friend's family beach house, our families introduced me to his most artful and dramatically charged film, which evokes the golden age of Hollywood horror perfectly with its rich black and white photography, foggy studio sets, and melodramatic script, all meshed seamlessly with Mel's usual irreverence and visual gags. There ain't a single weak link in this cast either, but I'd be doing this pocket a disservice if I left out Gene Wilder's central performance, one of my favorites in any era, genre, or style. His double duty as lead man and co-screenwriter with Mel makes his Frankenstein as much a parody as it is a tribute to the original roles. It's what edges the movie above Blazing Saddles for me personally. Them came out the same year. A year before Rocky Horror popularized the musical horror comedy, Brian De Palma helmed a strikingly similar rock opera that mashed together Faust, Oscar Wilde, and of course, Phantom, but before Phantom as well, featuring Paul Rainbow Connection Williams as the ruthless foil to William Finley's transformation from totally not Warren Zevon into the titular monster. Phantom of the Paradise epitomizes the campy, kitschy storytelling you could only really see in the 70s, and even has a similar chaotic energy to Ken Russell's Tommy and Listomania. Of course, thankfully, it's not that unhinged, which allows you to focus more on the gothic ambience that pervades the scenes between the musical numbers.
We need a man that is simple perfection. There's nothing that's harder to find.
Rewatching this movie for the first time in years, I was flummoxed by just how much I loved it. It's such a great mixture of all the genres I love and works pretty damn well as a movie in its own right. Go give it a watch, even though Halloween's over. I'm fine, don't worry about it. 3 decades after its release, it's impossible to hear The Crow and not immediately think of on-set negligence, actors tragically taken before their time, and the supposed Lee family curse. What all this eclipses, of course, is the fact that The Crow is a kick-ass movie. Sure, it may be cheesy, but if Batman and Robin is the slice of American that you put on a Whopper Jr., toy included, this is a fine, smoky Gouda. Adapted from an underground comic that I'm more motivated than ever to track down and read, the film stands head and shoulders above a lot of edgy 90s movies with its inspired shot composition, set design, costuming, and pulpy script. And while I think the action can be pretty paint by numbers as far as choreography and editing, it's thankfully overpowered by the noir-y, gothic melodrama that drives the thing forward. In the end, of course, it's Brandon's show, his performance falling somewhere between Keanu and Travolta, with a physical commitment that would have served him well had he gotten to keep going. It's a hell of a note to go out on, and it's a hell of a movie to watch every fall, which I think I'm gonna start doing. This just might be my Donnie Darko. Guys, gals, ghouls, and ghosts, I'm once again late to the party on one of the coolest dang things ever made. But I'm nonetheless glad to have gotten to the party at all, and during the 10th year since its 2014 debut. Over the Garden Wall was an acclaimed miniseries created by Patrick McHale, who had already cut his teeth as a storyboard artist on Flapjack and Adventure Time, based off of his short film, Tome of the Unknown. Over the course of 10 episodes, McHale and his team crafted a world that's at once whimsical, earthy, eerie, and downright terrifying. A gorgeous backdrop for brothers Wirt and Greg as they make their way through a surreal countryside of strange characters. The cast is stacked with obscure performers and known Hollywood stars who all provide grit and urgency to their roles, and the soundtrack by the Blasting Company feels plucked right out of a different time.
A song rises over the lilies.
I mean, you're seeing this. You know it's beautiful. Don't do what I did and wait a decade to get to this. Take as much time as you would out of the day for a feature film and enjoy a rich and rewarding work of pop folk for the eyes.
Yes,